Coming up next on ECN, a regularly scheduled meeting of the Edinburgh City Council. On the council, Mayor Ramiro Garza Jr., Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Dan Diaz, Councilmember Jason De Leon, Councilmember David Salazar Jr., and Councilmember David White. Sitting in as advisors, City Manager Mayra Ayala and City Attorney Omar Ochoa. And now, live from Edinburgh City Hall, the Edinburgh City Council.
Good evening. Welcome to this evening's regular City Council meeting. Today it is January 16th and it is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order at this time. I do see visibly that we have a quorum with all members of council being present. So we're going to go ahead and get started as we do every meeting with a prayer. And I have here Pastor Dr. David Alexander from First Baptist Church to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, honorable council officials, fellow citizens, let us pray. Father, thank you so much for this evening. Lord, that we are reminded of your provision of a warm place to do business in. And Lord, we thank you for the shelter. We pray for those this evening who might be struggling with that. And Lord, we pray that you would help them to find the refuge they need from the weather. Lord, thank you for a place where we can come and reason together. We thank you for a country that allows us to do this and to come to the city square and talk about the things of the city. So Lord, we pray for your wisdom, that as we reason together, that we might seek your guidance in being the stewards of the resources that you've entrusted to us. So guide our council, guide the citizens this evening as they do the business of the city you have given us. Thank you, Lord, again for your intentional and personal interest in the affairs of your creation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We're going to recite the pledge at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, Dr. David Alexander, for that prayer. We're going to move on to item 2, certification of public notice.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The meeting was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act on January 12, 2024 at 11:15 p.m., sir.
Great, thank you. Item 3 is disclosure of conflict of interest.
Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a council member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. If there is a conflict of interest, the member can't participate or vote on the item. Are there any conflicts to disclose?
No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We have several proclamations this evening. Our city secretary will read off the proclamations. We have the month of January 2024 as Crime Stoppers Month, and I do see a lot of them here in red. So if y'all don't mind, I know y'all aren't shy, step up to the podium while Ms. Clarice reads off the
Yes, sir,
proclamation.
Mayor. Whereas since 1976, Crime Stoppers programs have empowered citizens across the state to take a stand against crime in their communities and reclaim their sense of safety, Crime Stoppers programs bring together law enforcement agencies, citizens, and the media to solve crimes and bring criminals to justice. The Edinburgh Crime Stoppers have programs that strive to protect our students and young people by reducing crime in schools and handing out Crime Stoppers information. And whereas the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers members, volunteers, and guests meet monthly and at neighborhood watch meetings to discuss areas of concern. And whereas the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers are vital in the community, they make an effort to volunteer and support city events like the 41st All-America City Miracle Mile, the Edinburgh Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, the City of Edinburgh Trunk or Treat, and the Edinburgh Cares Turkey distribution to families in the area. And whereas the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers work closely with the Edinburgh Police Department as one of their biggest supporters, the Crime Stoppers hosted a Burger with a Cop and all proceeds went to the tips account. They participated in the Edinburgh Police Fire Up block parties, and they were part of the Edinburgh Police Department National Night Out. The Crime Stoppers volunteered at all movies with a cop, handing out Crime Stoppers information, coloring books, and crayons to the children. The Crime Stoppers assisted the Edinburgh Police Department at the Texas A&M Agri-Life Safety Program, and they donated $5,000 worth of toys to the Edinburgh Police Department Blue Santa Drive. And whereas the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers are advocates in keep the community safe, spreading awareness and information every opportunity. The Edinburgh Crime Stoppers participated at the Edinburgh Kiwanis Pancakes and Heroes event, and they assisted putting over 600 flags on the tombs of soldiers at the Edinburgh Kiwanis Memorial Day event. And whereas the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers gave out information and hundreds of candies at the Longoria Middle School Trunk or Treat, handed out medals at the Women Together Walk in Shoes 5K, and whereas the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers served the community, enhancing the safety and quality of life. They hosted the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers Loteria fundraiser with over 200 attendees. They also attended their 34th annual Texas Crime Stoppers Conference in McAllen. Their efforts do not go unnoticed. During their attendance at the Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce luncheon, they received a donation from Congressman Monica de la Cruz. And whereas the City of Edinburgh is proud to recognize and honor the service and accomplishments of the Edinburgh Crime Stoppers, now therefore the Mayor and Council of the City of Edinburgh, by the power vested in them by law, do hereby recognize January 2024 as Crime Stoppers Month and encourage everyone to learn more about the Crime Stoppers and consider where you might fit as a member or volunteer.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for recognizing our amazing team. As you all can tell, we're very active in the community. Our volunteers are dedicated to keeping our Edinburgh community informed and safe. And so I'm grateful for y'all recognizing our team for all the hard work they've had this past year.
Great.
you.
Thank you. You want to introduce everybody that's here? I think a lot of us know who they are, but we are on the record so they could, reflect who was
I
here.
think a lot of everybody knows who we are. We're like I said, we're always at all the events, pretty much. But
Yeah.
my name is Sonia Enriquez. I am president of Edinburgh Crime Stoppers. I have Ms. Yvonne Garza. She's our vice president. Mr. Johnny Hernandez. He's our media informant. And then we have members Melissa, Ms. Olga Regalado. We also have Mr. Arnold Cerda, and our COP officer, Officer Lara, which everybody knows him as well. We have Ms. Eva Guerrero, one of our members, Estela Rodriguez, Ms. Imelda Rodriguez, she is our treasurer. We also have Ms. Sonia Salinas, one of our members, Joe Borrego, our sergeant of arms, Mr. Romero Sanchez, and then we also have Ms. Lati Flores, she is our historian.
Wow.
I don't think I missed anybody.
Well, let's give them all a hand, please, because they do so much in our community. I just want to,
Thank you.
just on behalf of myself and the council, we really want to thank you all for all that y'all do, not just the events that y'all have, but even the events the city has. Y'all always volunteer and participate. I think y'all even help us with the parade. I saw Johnny out there.
Yeah.
So thank y'all so much for all that y'all do, and it goes a long way with our community and with the awareness that y'all do. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
so
And also
much.
want to recognize Chief Ayala.
Where is he?
For the
Oh,
great
there he
support
is.
he gives us as well. Thank you, Chief.
All right.
And Officer, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I just want to say thank you, everyone. If there's anything else we can do to make the program better, I always say, let's make everything a little bit better year after year, so anything we can do, please let us know.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation recognizing Ricardo Perales for his impact in the Tejano music community and his service to our City of Edinburgh community.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Whereas Ricardo Perales was born to Encarnacion Perales and Angelita Osuna Perales on July 26, 1954 in Edinburgh, Texas. Ricardo was raised in Edinburgh by his grandmother. And whereas Ricardo's interest for music came at an early age, he was only 5 years old living in Lockney, Texas, when he realized he was destined to be an entertainer. Ricardo anxiously waited for the weekly dance. He would imitate other dancers, and the more people cheered him on, the more he entertained the crowd. And whereas Ricardo's love for music continued to grow, in 1960, Ricardo returned to Edinburgh. He lived in Los Albores Courts, surrounded by others who shared his passion for music and would become musicians like Ricardo's cousin, Gilberto Gil Garcia of Los Dos Gilbertos, Oscar Diaz Jr. of Los Hermanos Leighton, Carlos Crow Garza of Henry and the Glares, Santos Erebia of Sandy H. and the Silhouettes, and many others. And whereas Ricardo admired the sound of conjunto during weddings or dances, Ricardo could be found backstage watching the drummer. One of his favorite drummers was Eugenio Guzman, brother of Ricardo Guzman y Los Tres Haces. His showmanship was enough for Ricardo to pursue his dream of learning to play the drums. In 1968, Ricardo heard Celestino Cele Quintanilla playing the accordion and beating on a bass drum, keeping time. Celestino asked Ricardo, "¿Quieres tocar los tambores?" Ricardo, his cousin Carlos and sell it performed every weekend. And whereas Mr. Perales was known in the Tejano music community as a lead vocalist and drummer for numerous Tejano bands and his own bands. In the 1970s, Ricardo had a band called Southern Country. In the 1980s, Grupo Silencio, and in the 90s, Carisma, each contributing to the vibrant tapestry of the Tejano music landscape. He was also a member of the Rio Grande Valley Chapter Tejano Legend Pioneers organization. Mr. Perales shared his love for music as a parishioner and choir member of Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Edinburgh, and had his own DJ business called Cool Jams, providing entertainment and joy to the community with his lively musical selections. And whereas Mr. Perales was a proud graduate of Edinburgh High School class of 1973, where he met the love of his life, Rosie Perales, whom he shared a beautiful life and marriage of 47 years. They had 2 daughters, Rose Michelle Perales and Priscilla Renee Perales. Mr. Perales loved being a grandfather. He enjoyed having grandpa duties like picking them up from school, supporting them in their extracurricular activities, and just spending time with them. His favorite pastime was cooking barbecue with family and friends and watching the Dallas Cowboys. And whereas although music was one of Mr. Perales' passion, he was strongly rooted in the community, retiring from the Edinburgh CISD after 27 years of service as a driver's education instructor and the transportation department. Mr. Perales was an avid board member of 30 years, serving on the Edinburgh Community Development Council from July 20, 1993 to October 13, 2005, and on the Housing Assistance Committee from November 15, 2005 to June 20, 2023. Leaving an indelible mark on the community by fostering growth, development, and better quality of life for all residents. And whereas on Friday, November 3rd, 2023, Ricardo Perales gained his wings and entered eternal rest surrounded by his family, Ricardo Perales will be greatly missed, but will forever be remembered for his larger-than-life personality, sense of humor, charisma, and more importantly, his kindness and willingness to selflessly serve others. And whereas the Edinburgh City Council would like to recognize Mr. Perales for his impact on the Tejano music community and his service to the City of Edinburgh community. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Mayor and Council and of the City of Edinburgh, by the power vested in by law, I do hereby recognize Ricardo Perales for his remarkable life and significant contributions. We honor his profound Tejano music legacy and recognize the invaluable service he rendered to the City of Edinburgh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor Garza, City Council members, and staff. My name is Dr. Rose Michelle Zuniga, daughter of Ricardo Richard Perales. I accept this recognition on behalf of my dad and our family. Although Dad was a showman with a larger-than-life personality, he was also a humble and somewhat reserved person that never asked for recognition or anything in return. If he were here with us accepting this recognition, he would probably be, oh, cool. Neat. Thank you. But deep down inside, he would be gleaming with pride and have a lot of pride and joy to be here. Dad had a love and joy for his family, music, and community. And although he is no longer with us, he has made a lasting imprint on all those that have had the pleasure of meeting and knowing him. I wish I knew all the stories about my dad, only the good ones, please. But nonetheless, I know his story as a father and provider, a husband to my mom for 47 years, as a grandfather to his grandchildren, as a musician, as a community member of the great city of Edinburgh, as a parishioner and choir member of Sacred Heart Church, and lastly, as a genuine, caring, and selfless person with all that came to know him. On behalf of the Perales, Zuniga, and Castillo family, we want to thank the City of Edinburgh, Mayor Garza, City Council members, and Ms. Marisa Garza, the Director of Grants Administration, whom he worked closely with because of the boards that he was in, for recognizing my dad posthumously for his contribution and impact to the Tejano music community and his service to the City of Edinburgh. Thank you.
And I want to also go, I'm Rosie Perales, Ms. Perales, Richard's wife. And I want to thank all of you all for all this. In addition, we have some of his musician members here with us, the Cruisers.
Yes.
And they're here joining us today with this. We have some family members from the state of Washington and his brother here, and his cousins here, and very close friends of his that are like family member to us. So we thank them all for being here with us too also today. So thank you, everybody.
You're very welcome, and thank you. It's let me just say it's an honor for us to recognize Mr. Perales this evening. I think a lot of people are aware of the impact he's had on the music industry, and of course, the contributions made here in the city. But from my standpoint, he served our city for almost 30 years. And as you mentioned, with Ms. Marisa on the community development, the housing assistance, he went from one board to another, but all related to housing. And for those in the community not aware, that's the boards that have anything to do with providing affordable housing to our community. So he was a part of that each and every year since 1993, and up until, late last year. And so we just, on behalf of ourselves, we want to thank him and you all for allowing him to serve our community and for all that he's done here in our community. And at this time, I want to allow his band members, that they could stand, also be recognized. I know, could they please stand, everybody that is here, so they could be recognized?
Why don't we get a picture?
I think they should also come up here. We don't mind going down, take a picture with them, because they represent a lot of what he was about with the music industry. Yeah.
And I want to add on to that, we have the class of 1973 here also joining us today, the Fighting Bobcats.
The Fighting Bob,
So-
all right. Well, so if they could step up, we're going to have to take another picture, because this is,
When we do it up here, and
we can be up here? Yeah.
we should get them all, the 73 class, the family and friends that are in for out of towns. It's an honor to have everybody here.
It was their 50th anniversary. Yeah.
Juan, my brother.
And y'all thought we had people here for the public here.
We're gonna have to squash, but we'll be there.
Wow, all right. What an honor. Thank you again
I have
to
to say-
Perales family.
Yeah, I have to say, I heard the group named the Cruisers. My uncle Bobby Ledesma was part of the Cruisers. So I'm pretty familiar with how you guys jam out.
Thank you again. Thank you all so much. We're going to move on to item C, present our recipient of Employee of the Month Award for the month of November 2023.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Belinda Torres, Director of Human Resources. As you know, our workforce is one of our largest assets, and so we'd like to show appreciation and recruit and retain by some of these small token of appreciation. This month, November of 2023, the Employee of the Month is Jarita Hernandez. She's an administrative assistant with the Aviation Department. She's been with the city since May of 2022. During her time with the Aviation Department, Jarita has been a recipient of Airport Business Magazine and awarded Top 40 Under 40. I'll have Mr. Director Eddie Velarde tell us a little bit about Ms. Jarita.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Your Honor. Council, Eddie Velarde, Director of Aviation for the city. As Belinda said, in December of 2022, Rita was recognized by a nationwide publication, Airport Business, as one of the top 40 under 40 across the country. A year ago, almost to the day, she appeared before council here, so then you all could recognize her for that achievement. As an administrative assistant there, Rita does so much more. Gosh, she's, as far as financially helping out the airport, the consistency, serving the customer, internal, external customer. It doesn't matter if you fly a Gulfstream or a Cessna 150 there, she serves everybody. And she's a wonderful cohort and colleague to all of us and to folks in other city departments there. She is exemplary of the best of the folk who work for the city of Edinburgh there. I admire her and I am proud of her.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the nomination, the selection. It's for the past, well, not year and a half, I'd say. I'm not there in my 2-year mark. I've enjoyed working with the city, networking, working with everybody in different departments, and I hope to continue to accomplish more and be an example to others.
And thank you, and congratulations on this recognition. Just continues. Last year, you got that recognition for the 40 under 40 top, and now being recognized Employee of the Month. Very well deserving, and thank you for all that you do for our city and at the airport. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Get another picture with you.
Yes.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item 5, public comments.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The Edinburgh City Council allows for a specific portion of the city council meeting to be dedicated to public comments. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. I will be taking time. Please note the public comment period is not interactive. The council may not respond to public comments. At this time, Mayor and Council, there are 6 public comments. The first public comment is Javier Garza regarding the City of Edinburgh 10K and Health Expo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Javier Garza, Director of Parks. It's that time of year. We're excited about our 42nd annual 10K coming around. It's going to be held February the 3rd. We have 3 races, 2 races on February the 3rd, which is the 10K and the fun run. And also on Friday, February the 2nd at 6:15 in the evening will be the Miracle Mile. So we're excited about that. We partner up with ECISD and various communities, business to come in and bring as many people as possible. It's the biggest race in the valley, so we're excited about that. As of today, we have about 2,200 people already signed up for all 3 races, so we're on our way there. I know the mayor had challenged our community to beat our record of 10,466. You know, it takes a lot of work. We're partnering up with a lot of people to come out there and join us. Also, our Health Expo will be held on Friday, February the 2nd at 10 in the morning to 6 in the evening there at the Parks and Recreation gyms. We have our vendors are full already. We're not accepting any more vendors. We have a lot of vendors there available. But we're going to invite all the community over to come and join us. We partnered up with DHR, South Texas Health System, and also UTRGV. There'll be health screenings and all kinds of business letting you know how to eat healthy and promoting good health. So we invite everybody in the community, Mayor and Council as well out there, and we're excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next public comment is Laura Cerda regarding It's Time Texas.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. Laura Cerda with Human Resources, the Benefits and Wellness Manager. It's Time Texas is a nonprofit organization that educates communities all across Texas on health-related topics. They provide resources to Texans on healthier eating habits, physical activities, and the importance of water consumption. As a way to foster a healthier state, It's Time Texas hosts a community challenge for 8 weeks starting in January and ending in March. Throughout the competition, participants are encouraged to report their physical activity, motivate others, visit local parks, and document their healthy eating through a mobile application. By reporting these actions, participants start gaining points for community and/or their organization. Last year was the first time I participated in this challenge, and I'm here today to share my story with how It's Time Texas impacted my entire family. Some of you may know my husband, and the picture on the left side is us a few months before the challenge started last year, when our health was not a priority. When the challenge began, and with the support of my directors, I fully committed to the challenge. After learning how to eat healthier and training ourselves that food shouldn't be our comfort zone, we started seeing the results. Soon after the challenge ended, and at a combined weight loss of 150 pounds, I was sent home from work sick and went to see my family doctor. Because of the recent weight loss, the doctor ran a few extra tests to rule out weight loss related complications. It was a few days later, back at work and about to walk into a meeting, that I received the call. The doctors found a tumor on my right kidney. From there, everything went in fast forward, and the team of doctors wasted no time in scheduling the partial removal of my right kidney, and this is when I was diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma. I am proud to say now that I'm a cancer-free survivor, and it's because of It's Time Texas. It's Time Texas was the first step I took towards a healthier lifestyle, and I'm here today to highly encourage our community and our city to challenge yourselves by making your health a priority and participating in this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next public comment is Ronnie Larade regarding University Draft House Beer Fest.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I guess I'll wait till everybody comes up here. Ronnie Larade, Executive Director of the Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce and CVB. Tonight I'm here with a lot of our good friends. We have representatives from the Edinburgh Arts Foundation, representatives from the Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce, but we're here to help and receive a check, from University Draft House Beer Fest. So just to give a little bit background information, this event has been happening since 2016. Thanks to our good friends at University Draft House. They first came to the chamber and wanted to bring a similar event from another city, but deal with craft beer, but also help the community. So it first started with historical landmarks, including the Southern Pacific Depot, and then also the future ACE building. But before I continue with that, I'm going to call up our good friends, Sony and Albert Rego, to talk a little bit on behalf of University Draft House Beer Fest.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. We want to say thank you for allowing us to do this event at the courtyard on the city, and it's because of the support that we receive from the City of Edinburgh we're able to come and do this event, and this is a way that we can give back to the community, and we really appreciate it. So far it's been 6 years since 2016, and we've been donating this money to the City of Edinburgh, to Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce Education Initiative, and we are very proud to be part of this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, I'd like to also thank each and every one of you and all those present for, again, allowing us to participate in this way in our community. I'd like to recognize the countless volunteers, not only from the Chamber of Commerce, from the EDC, from the city itself, and from our sponsors, who I must remind everyone that our sponsors like LNF and distributors and those restaurants that participate just like us do not charge a red cent for everything that is donated, whether it's their time or the product or the things that are used at the Beer Fest. All other expenses, obviously, there are some, and expenses go up, but we've managed to maintain the levels of donations to a degree that we hope to near 100,000 pretty soon, and hopefully by the next Beer Fest we get there. This last Beer Fest was probably the most attended so far, nearly 800 folks. The one that's coming We hope to break 1,000, and again, with your help, we are proud to be part of the city and to be able to participate in such a wonderful event. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, on behalf of the Edinburgh Arts Foundation, we are very appreciative of the University Draft House and the partnership that we've created through the Chamber of Commerce, the Edinburgh Arts Foundation, and the city. We assist through the logistics and as a beneficiary towards the Arts, Culture, and Events Center that's opening up later this year. Thank you.
And with that, I know my 3 minutes is up, but they're here to present a check for $15,500. That would be 50% of the proceeds go to the Edinburgh Chamber of Education Initiatives, and the other 50% to the Arts Initiative, and of course the beautiful ACE building that we'll be soon having a ribbon cutting for. Thank you.
The next public comment is for McClarity regarding taxpayers' money.
Well, council members, guess what my topic is tonight? It is the total transparent process of purchasing a soccer facility. This is another spending venture that indicates that this council is out of touch with the concerns of the public. I would suggest that you spend a little time at the tax office where people are lined up to pay their taxes or at least make some payments. They will be glad to tell you what they think about the more spending and increasing taxes. As you may recall, 83% of the people voted to use state money to lower the homestead property tax. Well, then the appraisal district increased the homestead values and turned that $60,000 reduction into at least $1,000 increase or on some, if not more. So if you wonder why I am frustrated, it is because you are not working for the people. Could it be that you're working in your own best interest? In reference to the soccer field, this council has taken a private company that was paying taxes and turned it into a city-owned project that is losing money. Does it happen in a backroom deal? This is not transparency. So let me ask some questions concerning the purchase of the soccer facility. I know you cannot answer, but assuming that this accomplishment with public money, the public has a right to know. How will the public benefit financially? How many full-time jobs will be created? Will any of the council members benefit in any political contributions in the next 5 years? Does the project include employment of the developer to administer the facility? When and where was the deal negotiated before it was approved by the city? Is the city committed to making improvements? These are important questions because in the case of the sports arena, the city is paying $1.3 million on the bonds, and in a good year, there is an income of about $300,000. This does not include the management or operation fees. No community business, none of us that own a business could operate like this. So why is the city doing this? We would like to know what kind of deals were made. Tonight, I'm also asking on 7G, which is about, I know you have a public hearing on the increasing of water and wastewater rates. I know we're using more water, but we also have a lot of new homes, apartments, and things that they're paying. So you're getting more money.
So can you explain why you have to raise it on everyone? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next public comment is Magdiel Castle regarding MLK Day of Service.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of the community. I'd like to remind everybody of the MLK Day of Service, which was originally scheduled for yesterday on MLK Day, but because of the weather, we have postponed it to Friday. We are inviting everybody to come out this Friday, January 16th? This Friday, at 9 to 12 p.m. at the Restlawn Cemetery. Restlawn is inside Hillcrest Cemetery, and we're still looking for volunteers. We are needing some more volunteers, so we ask everybody to come out and, in the spirit of MLK, donate your time. I also like to, on that note of the weather, remind everybody that the library, we are open as a warming center. We will continue to be open tonight from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next public comment is AJ Aleman regarding RGV Challenge.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. AJ Aleman, Executive Assistant to the City Manager. Just want to remind everyone again of the Challenge RGV. The weigh-in is taking place next week. As of right now, it's taking place in the Promenade area, but we are having backup plans just in case the weather doesn't allow us to. It is January 27th at 9 a.m. As of right now, we have roughly around 220 participants, and for our first year, we're kind of pretty excited that we have this many. So we just encourage people to continue to register. Registration is open all the way to the weigh-in. Even if you don't pre-register, you can register and sign up there at the weigh-in. It runs all the way to April 27th, and there's different incentives while you are participating in the challenge. Some local gyms are offering free classes for people who are in the challenge, and some discounts on different shake shops in the area. So if anyone has any questions, they can reach out to me or the Health and Wellness Committee. And again, we just want to remind everyone to register. And again, if anyone has questions, they can reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no further public comments.
All right, there are no other public comments. We're going to move on to item 6, presentations and reports. We have one item. Item A is status of capital improvement projects. I think for the sake of time, we're going to go over some highlights or
Yes,
what was the plan? Okay.
Mayor, I know the list is very comprehensive. It's everything that we cover every month.
And it's available online also,
for
right?
PPAC.
So-
And I was going to cover a little bit of that just for time purposes. So everything that we do cover today, it's part of the capital projects dashboard. It's simple to get. There's 3 ways to get from our website. The main page has a link. There's also going through our engineering page that you can get there, and lately we added on the GIS dashboard as well. From there, it'll get you to a landing page where it'll take you to the current construction projects and to our PPAC packages that we present every month. The information is pretty much the same. We do not change it. It's the same information we provide council is the same one we provide our residents. Every week we provide a status update that is shown there. It's provided also to management on our weekly reports, and it's updated for PPAC as well. It provides the latest and greatest financial transactions and wherever the project is at, and we also show a project schedule on the bottom right corner, and it provides a Gantt chart as to where it's at, and it's the same thing that we provide for PPAC. So nothing really changes for that. Right now, I'll go a little bit over the projects that were completed in 23 that just ended. Some of those include Lola, Alberta Veterans, Junior Detention Pond 2, the Ebony Hills Master Plan, the City Hall tile replacement, the Municipal Pool, the Zavala Park, City Hall roof, Municipal Park turf field, Cano Trail, El Tule, Jackson and Chapin Signals, Junior Street, Hobbs, And the utility side, the lift stations 34 and 35, plus the manhole rehabilitation project. That's a yearly project. On
Just a quick question, going back to the dashboard, these projects that have been completed, are they also included in that dollar amount, or are they taken
no,
out
they
already?
get removed. There's
get
a tab that we change internally that it turns it off.
So for this slide here for 23 projects that were completed, do we have a total dollar amount, what that amounts to? I mean, we don't need it right now, but I'm saying it'd be good to show.
I do not show that, but I
Right.
do have it on here on my numbers individually
Yeah.
as to más o menos where
It'd
we're
just
at.
be good to show like a summary, because I know a lot of these are ongoing. I mean, they go from one fiscal year to the next, but
Correct.
at least on those that have been completed, it would just be good to know what the
Maybe
total
something
dollar
similar
amount.
to this tab that you show on screen, but for the completed part.
Correct.
And
Yes,
we
sir.
can do it per fiscal maybe?
It could be, yeah, fiscal year is good so that it, or calendar year, however y'all want to track it, but
Okay.
yeah.
We can work on that. This is the comprehensive list of projects from this page.
And also, real quick, I'm sorry
Yes,
to
sir.
interrupt you again, but I think this may be important. I know the city issued bonds in 2018 or 2019?
2018.
2018, right?
2019 issues,
Yeah.
correct.
So I think what would be good also is just to show a separate category just for those and where we're at as it relates to those projects that were, that are being funded through that bond issuance. And that should have probably its own, I guess, link to that information, because those were bonds that were issued by the city at that time. And it'd be good to just keep track of these based on that bond issuance.
Correct, because right now, the way to filter, you can filter by categories, drainage, streets, but we can do it something where we can do it
But
also
this will
by
be-
fund.
I think everything that's there is great. I just think that would be a good way to just show where we at with those bonds that were issued in 2018.
Okay.
On those projects. I mean, they can be included in the summary here of what's here, but I just think it'd be great to have a separate category.
Okay.
To help people know what we're doing with those tax dollars that were issued bonds on.
Definitely. On this slide, it's the comprehensive list of all projects that we're managing on the engineering side. The only ones that I'll cover just from this slide, it's on the future projects because they are coming up in the upcoming meetings or calendar year, which is Trenton Road Street Improvement that we'll be partnering with, or we have already partnered with the county, so monies are going to be needed for that project. And then the next few weeks, we'll be submitting for the Shape and Street Planning Grant, so that we do road improvements. It's a planning grant, but it should help tremendously. Other than that, this is the list for utilities. It's also the comprehensive list. We have the projects broken down a little bit further in the presentation. And this is the list of completed projects. And we go from Lowell subdivision that completed in April of last year. This project alone, it was a $6.2 million investment between drainage, sidewalks, the full length of the street. We were looking at about 4 miles worth of road, plus about 7.5 miles worth of sidewalks. Alberta Road, we had completed phase 1, and that's only the section between Jackson and McCall. And that's another $1.7 million investment in half a mile. Veterans Detention Pond, our famous 3 streets. These are 3 streets that were fully reconstructed. They used to have bar ditches. They did not have storm drainage or sanitary sewer drainage or sanitary sewer. That was completed in October of last year. And we're looking at the phase 2, which is the main detention pond project. The Junior Pond, the main phase of this project was completed in December, and it included about 93,000 cubic yards of excavation. This is helping the area just north of it that used to have major issues, flooding, and true benefit for the city. Another 1,300 linear feet of 72-inch pipe, so just imagine how much volume we're able to do. We just awarded phase 3, and I'll be talking a little bit about that in a couple of minutes.
Okay, real quick, also like on this particular item, this detention ponds, on the online dashboard, it'd be good to show that map of, for example, those improvements, what area, a map showing those areas that are being affected. by making these improvements. Because you know how y'all have those, when y'all present those detention ponds that we're working on, we show the areas that will be impacted.
It
and
shows something similar to this, which is basically the impact. So like in this case, it was for the Alberta project, so it shows a line. But on the detention pond, it shows the major area.
Correct, yes, sir. It'd be good, like on the slide for that project, that way people understand what the impact that is and, you know, how it's gonna help us.
Okay. And then municipal pool redevelopment, this was completed about May of last year. This one was about $5.3 million investment. They included the redoing of the bathhouse, so that it was done in the 1950s, plus the Pirates Cove that became very popular this summer. The next one, we had the ceremony earlier this year. And this is the Zavala, which included the splash pad. It included a pavilion with basketball courts and a walking trail and parking lot. This was almost a $2 million investment, partnership with the ECISD and Hidalgo County. The next one is the City Hall roof that was completed earlier in the year. This was about a $442,000 investment. Ano Trail, this is a project that's also completed. It included 115 solar lights. We did have a ceremony on this project. It's an 80-20 match with the MPO. $483,000 were spent for this project. El Tule, project completed back in September. This is monies from EDC. About $5 million were paid for 3 basketball courts, parking lot, and a walking trailer around this area. Jackson and Chapin traffic signal. This was also completed last year. This one was about $280,000 worth of construction plus engineering fees. Junior Street reconstruction. This was completed in January of 2023. And this was almost a $3.5 million investment. It included medians, landscaping, lighting, sidewalks. The next one is Hobbs Drainage. This one, we took advantage of a partnership with a project with the City of McAllen. So we had a partnership with them, and it costed us only $40,000 to complete. This was a huge benefit. It was completed at the end of last year. This one was not part of the original presentation, but I actually missed this one, and it was the Municipal Turf Field Phase 1.
Real quick, I'm sorry, on Hobbs, we were gonna go back and pave that after the drainage. Are we gonna do that next, or Public Works, do we know?
We have Hobbs.
It's just, people have asked me, and I had told them that
If you have Hobbs on the list.
once we finish the drainage, we were gonna go back and do an overlay. Is that still the case, or on Hobbs Street?
It is in the plans, it's been in the plans for a while, that as soon as the work was completed, the drainage, that we would go back in and overlay it.
So it's now completed, correct, or?
Drainages.
So, okay. So when will it be?
So I'll plug it in, I'll have to plug it into the current list, because we didn't have the timeline when I made this list.
Got it. Okay, no problem, thank you.
Okay. Municipal turf expenditures of about $500,000. This was completed and it's already in use. And then we have the list for utility department, the lift station 34 and 35 that were completed, as well as the manhole rehabilitation program. Now the projects that we have under construction or about to get into construction includes the ACE. The ACE, it's a project that we're looking at completing towards the end of March. Contractually, we're supposed to be substantially complete by April, but I think it's going to be a little bit earlier. Then this one is Alberta Road, Phase 2. We're currently working on the area that's west of McCall Road. The south side is getting worked on. The drainage is getting installed. The north side has already been completed. It's already paved with the first lift. On the south side, we're looking at completing mid-February. Once that happens, then we shift to the next milestone, which is the section between Jackson and Sugar.
Do we have a schedule for each milestone? For example, that one is the first step, and then we're going to move to Jackson to Junior, right?
Internally,
Excuse me, Sugar, yeah.
Yes, internally we do. But since it's a little bit more complex, I'm putting it here, breaking it.
But does the contractor have a schedule
Yes.
based on their
Based on
scope of work?
contract, based on contract days.
Right.
It's already broken down in so many days per milestone.
Okay. It may be good to add that to, people in that area are asking, and I always tell them, check our website, on our dashboard, so we can add that schedule. I know it's just milestones, but it'd be good to show, like, at what point we're gonna get to that section, or.
We'll include it as part of the pictures that we
Yes,
put
sir.
in, maybe some
Yeah.
sort of a chart, but we can do that.
Thank you.
The other thing that we included as part of this one is Shalom. Yeah, so this is one of the projects for this year. So like in December, we did a change order to include Shalom as part of the projects. So actually, Shalom, all the sanitary sewer has been installed. The manholes are getting worked on. Services are getting worked on. We're probably looking at the first week in February for all of these improvements to get completed. Ebony Hills Golf Course bridges. This one, all the foundation, all the footings have been placed. We're looking at completing this towards the end of March. Skate park restroom and pump station. The portion of the skate park is actually complete already and functional. The pump station part, it's still waiting to get delivered. Once it's delivered, we're looking at about a 3-week period before the project is complete. Famous ones, traffic signals. So Freddy Gonzalez and Monmac, the first one I'll cover. So this particular project, we're expecting to have a pre-construction meeting with TxDOT. If you recall, this project was funded for design by the city, but construction is funded by TxDOT. On this one, we actually have a plan to do some stop signs in there while the traffic signals come in. Unless we get something first from TxDOT, but the intent is to get them placed as soon as they get received. As of today, signs haven't been received yet. So. But we would be looking at the 22nd, and that's the planned date if they do come in.
On this shows construction will be completed till March of 25, is that correct?
We were being conservative on that. It's because we don't know until the pre-construction if the materials have been ordered. So that's why we're being conservative. If they have been ordered, we'll know at the February 7th meeting, and we'll update accordingly. Typically, if the materials are received, it takes less than 3 months to get it complete. So the main thing is materials again. The same applies to the next one, which is Monte Cristo, Emerald, and Gwen. The only difference is that this has a different construction manager from TxDOT, so that meeting is scheduled for January the 26th. Project is still moving. And then the last one from this case, this one doesn't have a pre-construction meeting yet. We're expecting to meet with them this month, but there's still no set date to know when this one would start construction. Doolittle Detention Pond, fairly quickly, we approved this at the last meeting. We're looking at the groundbreaking ceremony on February the 8th. This is a 540 calendar day project. It's also done in milestones, so we'll have that scheduled as we discussed for the other project on our website so that they know when it's affected. Things to note is what I mentioned at the last meeting, that whenever we get to the intersection of Freddie and Veterans, we're timing it for it to be in the summer. So it might shorten the time frame, hopefully. Junior Detention Pond. So like for this project, that we have several phases on it. We're going to start breaking it. So phase 2 is already complete, so we'll put the remaining balance for phase 3 only. So this is probably the last time I would actually see this, including for PPAC. So phase 3 has the ribbon cutting ceremony, the groundbreaking ceremony, on January the 25th. And this would be the final stage of this junior detention pond. Police roof, we're working on a negative change order with our contractor. Upon having this one complete, the project will be done in less than a couple of months. And we have utilities ongoing projects, if you want to cover those here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Gerardo Carmona, Director Utilities. So we have 4 projects that are currently ongoing or under construction. The first one is the Monte Cristo and Klausner Elevated Water Tower. In the next couple of weeks, last year in December, the contractor did finish with the foundation of the water tower. So in the next couple of weeks, they will start going up vertical. On the wastewater treatment plant headworks, raw water pump, we're almost done. We ran into some issues in the delay of the material and some issues at the plant, but we should be finalizing that project in the upcoming months. And this was to install an additional pump there at the wastewater treatment plant, and to install some of the electrical work that goes along with operating that new pump. The next one is the 1250 kW standby generator for the wastewater treatment plant, the bell press. So after it goes through the treatment process, the sludge does get dewatered, and then eventually that gets taken to the wastewater treatment plant. To the landfill. So this is the bell press is an important equipment for the wastewater treatment plant, so it can continue working properly. So that's why we decided to add a generator for this type of equipment. The next is, of course, the utility rate study, utility rate and connection fee study that we basically started back in June 14th, which is when we initially started with the task force, and then basically it goes up to today for consideration as far as on the new rates, on the proposed rates for the water and wastewater. So if they do get approved today, then we would start a public notice, and then of course start the grace period, and then potentially start the new rates in March the 1st. So, okay.
So the next few slides will be what's coming. So there's quite a bit that's still coming in the upcoming months. I'll focus more on the latest projects for time purposes. So these are projects that are waiting still for acquisition, so I will jump a little bit on that. But the next ones that are coming, we have out for bid the downtown parking garage. And then, so that one we were looking at the end of the month. We've been getting requests to push the date a little bit, so we're currently analyzing those requests. The next one is the animal care facility. These plans are 60% done. We're looking at starting the bidding process at the end of this month, so that implies that we'll be starting construction about April. Park restrooms. The park restrooms are currently under design. We're looking at completing the plan set for this one on March the 1st. So we're looking at starting construction about May.
There's any way we can expedite those, a lot of the people in those areas would appreciate it, especially for the summers, the kids could utilize the parks. And anyway,
we're pushing, is there any priority as to which one first?
I think city managers are aware which one.
Okay, we'll work on that. The next one is the municipal turf fields. These are also under design. We're actually 60% complete on the plan set. We're starting the bidding process also at the end of this month to start construction with the first 3 in April. The next one is Brenoline Drainage. This project, we pushed the bid date from today to next Tuesday, so it will be at the next city council meeting for award. So we're looking at starting construction at the end of February. The next one is the new service center. That's actually getting the bids also next Tuesday. Same concept. We'll have it for the next council meeting. This one with construction beginning in March. The next one is the Freddy Gonzalez Hike and Bike Trail. This one is a project that's funded by the RGV MPO through a grant. And the first meeting with the TxDOT has begun. We had the kickoff meeting. Currently the irrigation canal is getting placed underground. So what we're starting on is the environmental report, and we'll follow with the survey upon completion of the whole area, so that we can get the engineering design done. The next one is the Ebony Hills Detention Pond. That is a project that had some funding, but not all. We saw an opportunity for the BRIC grant, and we applied for it to try and maximize it and do a couple more phases on it. So the grant application for this one was submitted on the 8th. The next one is, we have some right-of-way projects that are coming up that you should see at the end of sometime next month. And then we have the Edinburgh Transit Terminal. That project, we're currently meeting with the contractor / consultant to negotiate on the pricing. We're aiming to get this one started with construction in May. SH 107, that's still in line for 2026, I believe. It's still a long way for that one. You wanna go on?
So under the utilities, under planning, acquisition, design, and bidding, we have 6 projects that are currently going on in that process. The first one is the wastewater treatment plant. We're in the procurement process, which is to make improvements to the existing wastewater treatment plant. The next one is the US Highway 281. That's the water line readjustments that we had to do between 490 and SH 186. That's because TxDOT's going to be doing some highway improvements in there, and that relates back to the SIB loan that the city obtained last year. On that one, we're currently just waiting for to execute an agreement between TxDOT, and then they'll be starting their procurement process. We're anticipating that they won't start construction till the summer or early fall of this year. The next one is the downtown water treatment plant high service pump generator. That one we will be receiving bids next week. The other one is the airport new lift station. This is just for the design. Currently the engineer is working on the design for the lift station, and we have already received preliminary approval from TxDOT to install the force main within their right-of-way. On the Owasas, on the west and the east Owasa, we're currently in the acquisition phase for both projects.
And these are projects that are pending grant applications. Fayetteville and Iowa State drainage, we applied. So we have a list of projects that we have in our hazard mitigation plan. As funding opportunities come up, we look at some of these options and what will get us the most points and the chances of getting funded. So we applied for TDEM for these couple of ones, so we have not received an official response on these yet. We applied for the BRIC grant for the Ebony Hills Detention Pond. And then on the Chapin pump station, we actually had our kickoff meeting last week. So we will begin with the environmental process in the upcoming months. The next one is the Gano and Veterans. We also were awarded that project through the RGV MPO. We're expecting a kickoff somewhere in March. Then the next one is the Freddie Gonzalez and Klausner project. That project had the kickoff already with TxDOT last week. They are currently working on the AFA, the Advanced Funding Agreement, and upon completion, they're aiming for July of 2025. I know it's a long date. We're pushing on our end to try and expedite it and get it done sooner.
So for last year, on the utility side, we did get awarded 2 projects. One of them was from TDEM. And this is to install an additional generator for the West Water Treatment Plant. Currently, with the existing generator, we are only able to run half of the plant. So this is going to greatly help us out whenever we have any type of power outages. The next one is from the Bureau of Reclamation for the Smart Water Meter Grant, and this is to for a specific area, which is between Klossner and the 281 and Schunier and 107. Within that area, we're going to switch out approximately 500 regular meters to smart meters. So.
And the last thing on this, before we turn it over to Vince and the public work streets, we're still looking at funding for intersections. We would like to do right-hand turn lanes. These are actually numbers that we presented last year. So again, as opportunities come up, we would look at doing these type of improvements to improve the flow of traffic. So that's just a list that we put together a few months back.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Vincent Romero, Director of Public Works. This is the in-house street improvements that we've been discussing that was approved through this fiscal budget. This is the existing list that we have for the mill and overlay full width. This is the continued list for the mill and overlay full width. And then we have the preservation, which will be taking place in March through a contract. We have all our POs in place. We have 1.9 million already encumbered in asphalt materials and also for contractual striping. We did have a bid opening today for the concrete, so we're hoping to bring that to council to award that contract and also encumber the POs for the concrete work. We typically, winter is not our paving season, usually start getting aggressive early spring through fall. So the schedule that we have, this is also on the dashboard. Weather hasn't been very favorable to us, so we've had to make some adjustments on it. Our target date still is December 2024, but again, we adjust the schedule based on weather workload and such.
Vince, if you could just mention for the public, the reason that we don't work on streets in the winter because of the weather, could you explain that?
Yes, sir. The weather is not favorable usually in the winter due to either precipitation or just the cold weather. The asphalt has to have a certain temperature when we lay it down, and also it has to be workable when they're rolling it. And if the weather is too cold, then the material will segregate. It will harden prematurely.
Correct. I just wanted that so the public can be educated. Sometimes we get calls, why aren't they working today? Or if it's too cold, it's not a good working environment for the product.
And in the meantime, we are trying to be efficient. We're cleaning up the streets, prepping them, getting rid of grass, milling where we can, getting them ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, can you also just give some background? I know y'all went over in the, I think it was at 2040, one of the Public Works, the committee. What is the process y'all go through to identify which streets need to be, what category they should be in preservation or maybe repavement? I know there's like a scoring. Can you just briefly touch on that? Because I know this is a lot of streets that we're working on. It's great, but I also know there's a lot of others that need some work. And so the question comes up, how do we analyze that? How do we assess which streets need to go first and next, and just so that everybody's aware?
So there's several factors that we take into consideration. One being our work order system, C-Click Fix. We look at hot spots where we're getting the most demand for pothole patching, street repairs. The other is through C-Click Fix, citizens reporting streets. And so what we'll do is we do what's called a pavement condition index. And we go out to the street, we do an assessment on the street, we document the type of distresses, the amount of distresses, and the severity of the distresses. And there's a grading system based on that. And so every street gets a score. Once it gets a score, then we place it into the paving list, and based on that score depends where we place it.
But those are only those that are on that click and fix.
A lot of them are, or they'll call, whatever. There are some streets, Mayor, you're correct, that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
There's times that we'll get a call or somebody.
And I'm
will
only
say,
asking to just inform the public how it is that they could, make sure that if there's an area that needs to be addressed, so that we can know about it. Because if that hadn't been reported, it's not going to be assessed. Is that correct?
More than likely, yes. It won't be assessed unless it's brought to our attention or we're out there and see it ourselves.
Okay, and so these streets, we did, I don't know how many last year than the year before that. So do we have a catalog of each street? Like this one was paved, whatever, 2022, or, and then do we have a catalog of streets of when they were last paved or touched on?
Yes, we do. We have what we've done since I've been here, and I also have Tom's files where we have those streets that were overlaid back then or crack sealed. And what we're doing is we're going back and we're visiting those streets periodically, 3 years, 5 years, to see if there's preservation that needs to be done.
Yeah, because I think that would be helpful to try to keep track of things, because I appreciate all the work that is done. This is a lot of streets being paved in a year that I know previously it was impossible, and so I appreciate all the work on this. So just know that there's just that many more. And I just want to ask the public to be patient with us, but if there is roads that need to be tended to, please report it so we can properly assess them. So,
yes,
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Other than that, that's all we have, Mayor, unless there's any specific questions on any of the projects.
Council, is there any questions on the presentation? This is all available online, is that correct? So
Everything's available
anybody
online.
Any questions?
You'll see it again in a couple of weeks as part of the PPAC package with the latest and greatest update.
Yeah, the only, on the streets, if we can include a map of where all these streets are being paved, I think that'd be very helpful also on the dashboard as a summary. That'd be great. Okay. All right. Thank you. There's no other questions. I'm going to move on to item 7, public hearings. The council at this time, I wanted to see if I could just open a public hearing for items A through E. Would that be possible, council?
Yes, you can open up a public hearing on all items.
Council, if it's okay with everybody, I'm just going to open up for the public's interest. At this time, I'm going to open up the public hearings for any items. If you are here for any items from A, B, C, D, E, I'm going to include F also. The hearing is now open. Anybody here that would like to make any comments to us from A through F, the hearing is now open. You are more than welcome to come up to the podium, just state your name, and we be happy to hear from you on any of these items that are listed, A through F. Your hearing is now open. If there's nobody here to comment on any items A through F, I will now close the hearing and I will take them individually. At this time, I'll have our city secretary read the items.
Okay. Whole public hearing, consider the ordinance providing for the rezoning request from residential suburban RS district to commercial general CG district, being 3.0 acres out of lot 48 Santa Cruz Ranch subdivision located at 4601 North I-69C as requested by YAY Holdings LLC.
Council?
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B.
Hold public hearing, consider the ordinance providing for the rezoning request from residential suburban RS district to industrial general IG district, being 5.61 acres out of lot 48 Santa Cruz Ranch subdivision located at 4601 North I-69C as requested by YAY Holdings LLC.
Council?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C.
Hold public hearing, consider the ordinance providing for the rezoning request from commercial general CG district to industrial general IG district, being lot 2 Tandy subdivision located at 6029 North I-69C as requested by CC Truckers LLC.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D.
Hold public hearing, consider the ordinance providing for the rezoning request from agriculture and open space AO district to residential suburban RS district, being a 1.30 acre tract of land out of the east 1/2 of lot 15, section 233, Texas Mexican Railway Company survey located at 5505 West Junior Road, Unit A, as requested by Roy Luna Jr.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E.
Hold public hearing, consider the ordinance providing for the rezoning request from agriculture and open space, AO district to residential primary, RP district being 24.99 acres of Lot 15, Section 248, Texas Mexican Railway Company Survey, subdivision proposed Silverstone Heights subdivision located 3201 East Mile 17.5 Road, as requested by Carlos Gaitan.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item F.
Hold public hearing, consider the ordinance providing for the special use permit for a licensed child care home being Lot 4, Block 199, original town site of Edinburgh, located at 1112 East Coon Street, as requested by Sabas Garcia on behalf of Erica Garcia.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes our public hearings. Item G, Council, I would like to request suspend the rules on this item. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Well, motion, is there a second? Not, I'll second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? All right, is there another motion?
Make a motion to table this item and move it to behind agenda item A, agenda item A on the ordinance.
Second.
There's a second. So I have a question, Councilmember De Leon.
Can't move it?
I'm sorry?
We can table it and move it to another spot on here? We can just table it, right?
Right, so tabling is the
Bring it back next meeting.
operative action in that motion.
Can you restate your motion?
Okay. Then I'll make a motion just to table the item.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. So I have a question, Councilmember De Leon. So if we table this item, I know that's a separate item, but this was just to notify the public about what we're trying to do. I know we're not at that item, so are we planning to table the next item too, or on the water rates?
Is there discussion during tabling?
You can discuss the tabling, but you probably shouldn't get into the merits of the item.
Right, but I guess it's just a question on the motion, on the tabling. Is this to bring back at the next meeting, Councilmember De Leon, or is there, can I ask that, or am I allowed to ask as far as, is it gonna come back, or, I'm just trying to get clarification on the motion.
You can ask the procedural questions. The motion didn't include when it would come back.
Okay, so it would just be tabled?
So
Okay.
ostensibly, it would come back when requested at a future meeting.
So it's not automatic for it to come back?
Not
At the
automatic.
next meeting?
That's correct.
So do we have to request it to be back on if,
Yes, that's correct.
okay, and then it would come back on for consideration?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? If not, all in favor of the motion to table this item, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion is tabled. For this item, item 8, ordinance, we have, go ahead, City Secretary.
Yes. A, consider ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Edinburgh, Texas at Title V, Public Works, Chapter 50, General Provisions to provide for changes to rates and charges.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve scenario 1 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
And go ahead.
So, Tom, if you could just briefly tell us what we're voting on here?
Good evening, sir. Tom Reyna, Assistant City Manager over Public Infrastructure. Yes, sir. Scenarios 1 is after we reviewed with our consultant that we presented at our last workshop on the issues that we were encountering with our current rates to fund all the utility operations and projects. The scenario would be scenario 1 would be an increase of 5 years starting March the 4th, jumping over to October of 25, and then thereafter 4 more years in October. So it would go 26, 27, and ultimately 28. That way, we cover our plans as recommended by our utility rates consultant.
Pardon the interruption, that would be a correction. Scenario 1 is actually March and then October 2024, and then October 2025. Scenario 2 would be March 2024, and then through October 2025.
And can you explain what the rate increases are? Because there was different scenarios, right? Option 1 and then option 2.
Let me bring up Mr. Carmona here, because he's got the actual list on the total amount, so that way we get that answer on there.
Good evening, Mayor. Gerardo Carmona, Director of Utilities. So on the first scenario, it was a gradual increase, which was about 11% every, starting in March of 2024, and then do another one in October 2024, and then go all the way to October 2027.
Excuse me, 2028.
Sorry, 2028. And then the other one for scenario 2, which is a higher increase, which is about 22%, and then it starts the years after that, it goes only up to an 8% increase. So that's where the difference is.
So what's the percentage increase through option 1?
For option 1, it's 11%.
Or
it's consistent throughout the next years.
Oh.
And then option 2, it's 22% increase for the first one, which would be in March, and then after that it would just be an 8% increase. And ultimately it gets you to the same goal.
And so right now, what's presented or up for vote is option 1, which is a steady increase.
It would
That's
be
what
for
the motion is, right?
11%?
Based on the ordinance, it would be like on scenario 2.
Right. On the, okay, could you say that in dollar amounts? The approximate increase per month on the water rate? Based
Yes,
on,
sir.
what was it, 5,000?
And it varies, right? Because every single home is going to use a little bit different. But if we use based on the 5,000, it was going to be close to it was going to be close to $6 for both water and sewer combined total. So that's, somebody on the residential side that uses that amount would see that as a difference, right? Again, it varies based on the consumption. For the first one, it would be pretty much half of that, so about $3.
Excuse me, Councilmember Diaz. Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem. Your question was in scenario 1, what would the increments be? Okay, so in scenario 1, that would be the 11% increase. The first increase would be about approximately $2.96. The one after would be about $3.28, then $3.64, $4.04, and so forth.
So March, about $3, October, another $2.
$3.
And then March
Change.
again?
Another, like, close to $3 to $4, yes.
No,
That-
it would be.
That would be
March.
scenario 1.
Yeah, March and then October of 24, and then it will not jump until October of 25.
Correct.
That was scenario 1. And we're considering scenario 2, which is?
The motion was scenario 1.
Oh, okay, that is scenario, okay.
Yes.
I just remember before one of the options was $5
Yes, sir.
approximate a
which was the
month, then
larger one.
$2.
That was
or
scenario 2.
Or $3 across the board.
That's correct. And this, again, is on an average consumption rate of your average of 5,000 gallons.
Okay, and I know we've got a lot of input from our financial advisors, from the utility rate committee, different people, and we had the big presentation last meeting, but currently, could you talk about our rate now, once again for the record, and how far lower we are than, say, some neighboring cities? Do you have that information?
Yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem. So currently, the city of Edinburgh is at $26.87, which is far lower than any other city in any surrounding community. It's actually lower than our state average of $98.57. The closest one as of right now, and that's not taking into consideration that they themselves may have a utility rate increase, would be Sherryland Water, which is at $37.51. So that's the closest one to us as far as the rates. Even with the increase, whether it's scenario 1 or scenario 2, we will still be more than likely the lowest in the state, and definitely in our surrounding communities.
Okay, thank you for that. And just reading and just kind of repeating some of the information we've gotten, in order to, I coined the term, we keep kicking, administrations keep kicking the can down the road, and a lot of things that the city should have addressed years ago. This is one of those things that no one on council wants to raise rates, but if we're being responsible, we have to look at the cost of our growth, the cost of our aging systems, and the cost that what we're charging now, how it's barely meeting the requirements to maintain what we have. And so that being said, some of the emails are stating that in order to be able to apply for these funds, we have to charge this rate a year in advance before we're eligible for the funds. Could we discuss that?
So because we're charging in increments, we won't have all of the funding made available to us until the following year. So we won't know exactly what our capacity would be until after probably a full fiscal year of the funding. So that way we know exactly where we're at based on the amount that we'll be charging. Of course, there's so many different factors that we need to take into consideration, such as consumption, development, growth, and then, of course, increasing maintenance and operations, and so forth. I hope that answered your question.
And that's correct, Councilman. This would help us prepare forecasting a lot easier with the new rate at that point to see what we would be able to catch up with in the first 2 years.
Correct. And a question I had also from the last meeting, with this increase in rate and increase in our infrastructure to be able to increase our water capacity, will this help reach out to some of the areas that are still under septic? And without this rate increase, there's no way we'd ever reach out to them.
Yes,
Could
sir.
we touch on that?
Yes, sir. Currently, we do have some subdivisions that are still under the septic system, and we would like to utilize some of these funds to create projects that will help convert their septic system into the sanitary sewer infrastructure, such as Shalom. The residents had been incorporated through an annexation. And so we would like to definitely take a hard look at all of those subdivisions that are currently under septic system.
Got a question. And the scenarios are presented, I guess maybe I misread something, because everything I have, it shows it's a March 24.
Correct. Because
Then we go to October 25, but all the documents that I have state it that way.
Yes, sir. The reason, thank you. That's actually a very good question. In the December 19th City Council meeting, we were asked to bring back scenario 2 to present to the council, which is the one that increases approximately $5.90-something the first time, and then 8% at about maybe $2 to $3 every time after that. So all of the documentation that we had been presenting and providing was based on scenario 2, as per the directive of the council at that time. Now, the motion was made for scenario 1, which is, it's the 11% increase. And so that's the discussion that we're having now, is based on scenario 1, what would those numbers look like?
Okay, but we're gonna double up in 1 year?
We can, if that's,
But right now, we're going to, if this passes, we'll raise in March, and then we're gonna hit it again in October?
so that was the recommendation from the consultant at the time. That's what was presented. Of course, that's at the pleasure of the council, the will of the council, if they would like to change it.
That's what we're voting on right now?
Yes.
The double hit?
If it would be scenario 1.
Jason, I'm not comfortable with that.
Well, let me just interject real quick.
then you don't have to.
Yeah, let me just interject real quick, Councilmember. So the scenarios presented was for our consideration.
Yeah.
We get to determine whether we do, this or that. That's, recommendations being provided by the consultant.
The motion's been made is.
No,
for
I understand.
Scenario 2,
No, it's scenario 1.
Scenario
option
1.
Yeah.
And I'm letting my fellow council member know that I'm not necessarily comfortable with hitting the people up twice.
Well-
Within a year, so.
Right.
There's no way we could adjust that to say, almost, that.
Scenario 2? Right.
Well, I'm not saying change it to scenario 2, but I'm just saying that at least scenario 2 has
March,
You get a raise in March, and then you don't go until 25.
October 25, and then
25,
October every
and
year.
then it's a year after that.
Yes, we can definitely do that, yes, sir.
Well, it's, I can't do anything, it's the motion.
What is the amount?
I guess the question
What is the
was,
amount on
the
March?
scenario one was gradually doing it, right? The scenario
Correct.
two was gonna hit up front all at once, but it wasn't gonna be the same amount at the end of the day?
Yes, sir.
Approximately, yes.
That's what I'm saying, like scenario two was they're gonna hit them all at once. While scenario two, it's the same amount that they're gonna get hit with, but it's gradually. Scenario one,
But
they're
you're gonna hit 'em-
gradually
but
doing
you're
it.
gonna hit them up twice in one, within a.
Correct,
half
instead of
year,
hitting
then
them
you're
all
gonna
at
hit it
once,
again.
scenario two would have hit them all at once with that same amount. While scenario one, it would hit them gradually, so
Just
they
asking if
ease
you can
into
just
it.
Make the ease on the one, on the 24 to not give another raise until 25, October 25. That would just have to be amendment in your.
And how much is that,
They're the- all the
once a
numbers
year
would stay.
difference? Is that the $3 even keel throughout the?
The 290, yes, sir.
So for scenario 2, March would be $5.91, and then October 25 would be $2.62.
That's scenario 2.
That is scenario 2.
Scenario one is the one I don't have in front of me right now. That we're voting
Yeah, could
on.
you put scenario 1 up? Or scenario 1 is approximately $3 a month throughout the whole term of,
Scenario 1 would be $2.96,
Right.
$3.28.
in October?
Correct.
So that's the $5 in 1 year.
Basically, it adds up the same $5.
But there was.
Yes.
It's either today or tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes.
but there
Part of
was,
it
there
today
was,
and the rest of it tomorrow.
there was an option that was approximately $3 without change. I know we discussed it last meeting, but the majority decided on recommendation of the FA to go with the $5 at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there was an option that was a little more even keeled at about $3 a month.
That was
Yes.
scenario 1, sir.
Yeah,
With
so,
scenario 1.
Councilman Diaz, it's always been, scenario one was the $3. It adds up the same, it just kind of gets you where you're at the first March interval, so it doesn't impact the $5. It goes to $3, so you could adjust in October. But it all added up to the same.
So so scenario 1, it
It's
still
always been the
goes to $5 in the same year.
Yeah.
It
But
just
then-
spaces it out.
It
But
just
then
won't
in
have
March, it goes
impact on
to $3 again?
No, sir.
It stays at $2?
No, no, sir. So in March, it would be $2.96. In October, it would be $3.28.
And then the following
And
year.
then the
March.
following year would be, the following year, October 25, would be $3.64.
Let's just stop on the pair.
So basically, it adds up the same. That's what they're saying. It just, if you're just going to break it up and give a little bit of assistance on that first 6 months.
And council, let me just interject real quick. I know we're talking about rates, but the reason I had asked for that item previously, I know it already got tabled, because we just adopted a budget in September, over 3 months ago, where we told the public we were not going to raise rates this fiscal year. We're going to keep them all the same. And so that's why, as part of that process, y'all know with a budget, normally that's when you adjust rates, right? Because you approve your budget, you set your rates, you know what your expenditures are, and then you notify the public. You have a public hearing like we do in September, not just for the property tax rate, but it's on the budget. So we get to do that. So I had asked for us to consider having a public hearing for that purpose, since we're doing that during our fiscal year. You know, I just think it's important that we let everybody know what we're trying to do. Because over 3 months ago, we told everybody, your rates are gonna stay the same for the whole year, right? And now we're telling them over 3 months later, and I know we had a study that was undergone, we should have told everybody, well, there's a study we're doing, we may adjust rates, and we didn't do that. And so that's why I was asking, and I'm still asking for us to consider having a public hearing so that we could then adopt the rates after that, so we can notify everybody. Because right now, even the way this is worded, I don't think anybody knows that we're looking at just the water rates. If you read the item, it just says, consider ordinance amending code of ordinances to provide for changes to rates and charges. That doesn't really tell anybody. I don't think anybody in the city, with the exception of a handful of people, know that we're considering raising rates at today's meeting. And so, for that reason, that's why I wanted to have a public hearing so that we could just notify everybody what we're trying to do. Publish a notice in the paper, let everybody know this is what we're looking to do. It sounds like there's still a lot of questions about the scenarios anyway. You know, that's why I was asking for us to do that. I still have questions about the increases that are being proposed as it relates to our debt coverages and as it relates to the timeline of when projects need to be completed. I asked our city manager, which I think they provided a schedule of all these projects, and I think they're available online. And I just got them 30 minutes before the meeting, but, you know, if you look at the schedule, there's no project starting, all of them start 2025, late 24, but yet we're looking to raise rates already in March of this year. And I know we need to make some kind of adjustment, but that's why I'm asking, you know, let's see if, you know, we can have this public hearing or even delay the increase, maybe take a vote where it takes effect October versus it taking effect in March. There still seems to be questions about which scenario, what, at the end of the day, council, we're the ones that get to determine. The consultant and staff's giving us a recommendation. We have to make a decision as to what we think is best to have. I have an issue with just over 3 months ago telling everybody, publish a notice in the paper, your rates are going to stay the same. And yet 3 or 4 months later, we're telling everybody, well, we're going to raise your rates, and not by 5%. I think the lowest is 11%. Is that correct, the scenario?
It would actually be 8% under scenario 2.
8% increase. And as if council, if you're not aware, we also pay water, right? Our general fund, our public, our golf course, our parks. You know, I don't know if we budgeted for that. Did we budget for that? Those increases? I mean, this 8%, not just on the residents, it's also on ourselves, right? And our general fund are used for the water usage. And so, did we budget for that, or did we account for that? Because our budget was set right in October for the rates to stay the same.
So the amount that we pay is based on consumption. And so many times we won't know until the end of the year. Even at this current rate, we're not sure if we're going to use more or less water. But it would, in speaking to the director of finance, we had a conversation, and I did pose the question, and usually what happens is towards the end of the year, because it's based on consumption, that we wouldn't have an exact amount of how much we were actually have to pay out.
So obviously, if it's increased, we're going to have to pay that much more, whatever consumption is. Is that correct?
Well, we would pay more, but it would also, like I mentioned, it would depend on the consumption.
Right. And so we'll probably need to do amendment to our budget. Is that correct at that point on our general fund?
We may need to do a mid-year appropriation, but I know that at the end of the year, our director of finance does look at all of the accounts and will then do some budget transfers at that time as needed.
Yeah, and last meeting, we also talked about doing some public involvement, notifying the public, and we haven't done that. I don't think we've gone out to the Rotaries, gone out to civic groups, letting everybody know what we're trying to do. I think if we were to have a public hearing of when we're going to have the potential increase, we can start letting people know, this is what we're looking to do, this is why. The other thing, too, is there's, I think, 250 million, right, of worth of projects on this capital improvement list. And I think I had asked also about the debt service coverage. So this takes into account not just these capital improvement program, but also the debt service coverage, right? And so I wanted to see what is the actual rate that it would take to take care of our debt, and then account for the projects that are needed to be done. I'm not sure if I've seen that, what that rate structure would be.
So we currently have our financial advisor here that might be able to help assist answer that question.
Wait to get to the podium so everybody can hear us, please.
Thank you.
So they all know what we got.
So good evening, Bobby Villarreal with Southern Wholesale, your financial advisors. Now, I would caveat that we're not your utility rate consultants. So those guys have a team that study the operations of the city's utility system. They figure out the revenue projections, the expenses of the utility, right? So one thing that we know, and what you have before you is a pro forma we have of the debt that the utility has on its own. And so if you notice, there's an existing lien number on A, a B, there's a coverage that covers, right? But if you continue to go to the farthest to the right, the post-debt service payments, this has to do with the SIB loan, which is being paid by the city's general fund rather than the utility fund, because it couldn't cover it without exceeding the debt coverages, just that one.
Because our rate is too low?
Yes. So we had to do that. Not only that, if you look at column C, the debt payments are $380,000 for the first 8 years, then they go up to $840,000. We had to work with TxDOT, the SIB program, to structure it to help mitigate, pressure on the general fund to help address that issue there. The other part is column D, which are the capital leases, which was before you guys signed, and somebody else went crazy with those things, but those are commitments that you have to do as well. So if you notice on the furthest right, and this is not considering the CIP that Will, Dan, and staff were looking at, if you're just looking at those things with your commitments right now on the furthest right, you're struggling to cover 1.25 is the minimum target to be at. And that's not what you should strive to do, but rating agencies will look at you if your coverages are continuing to decline over time, they may ding you. Water Development Board wants to see 1.25 at least, but they don't want it to be so tight with things. So if you notice on the furthest right, this is without considering future CIP, you're struggling to get to that 125 in those first, 6 or 7 years, right? So one other thing to consider is, I think we've provided some memos, maybe I've gotten to y'all, that you have to show Water Development Board or USDA or whoever the agency is, the lenders, the underwriters, the rating agencies, that your audit, when you go out for, if these construction projects are going to be in 25 or 26, if you were to wait to institute this rate in October, that means that this fiscal year of 2024 ends in September, no rate increase. So March of 2025, we would show, or you would show an audit that showed a struggle. Now, if you institute it now, you're probably getting 5 to 6 months of revenues where it may make it look better or mitigate the concern there. Rating agencies, USDA, if you're going to be applying for them, they want to see some coverage here for future projects. Now, again, if you were to wait for October, that would be fiscal year 25, which ends September 25. We wouldn't be getting an audit till March of 26. Maybe later, because you know how things go with audits, right? So I just wanted to put that out there as a cautionary item. It's a prerogative, the policy of how you want to do things, but this sheet here is not the future stuff. This was, what they were instituting was to get you gently in there. And so one thing to notice here is that if the utility was to start to take over column C, that means it takes that pressure, that $380,000 or $840,000 payment coming due on the general fund side, on the INS tax rate, that it would alleviate that and put it in the department where it belongs, the water sewer system. So, just food for thought. I don't know if you have any questions.
And Bobby, in your professional opinion, you audit our financials and all that. Do you think it's crucial that we go ahead and move forward with this as soon as possible? That way we're not in the negative. And
yeah, I think as in a precautionary way, I know it's not ideal. Nobody wants to do it. You are the lowest of probably anybody around here, and that's not the only factor to look at. But again, if we're looking at projects and for you being ready with Water Development Board, because sometimes borrowing with Water Development Board isn't just about getting great rates. Sometimes there's grants that come with it, right? So you want to be prepared financially to meet those targets. And so we concur with Mr. Dan Jackson, Will Dan, and we think that, and the other thing too is, like Ms. Myra said, is you just never know when you institute it, is there gonna be a big rain event, nobody waters, the revenues don't come in, vice versa. So when you institute it, you're gonna find out whether those targets are proper, or the utility might find, you know, a certain part of town is leaking, you know, things don't add up. So you're gonna flesh out some issues when you institute this. But again, I think we would concur with Mr. Dan, or with Dan Jackson.
Bobby, is this the, from this chart here is the utility fund?
Yes, sir.
Is that what this is?
Yeah.
And so this column C, isn't that, is that being paid by the utility fund right now?
No.
Oh, it's not. So,
General fund,
I'm sorry?
general fund.
Yeah, because we had to pledge the INS rate because,
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but so for purposes of just analyzing things, right? This column should not be here because right now it's not being paid by utility fund.
yeah,
Is that correct? So if you were to take that out, what is the coverage ratio at that point?
it's still pretty tight.
I'd just like to know what that is, because right now, council view, that's being plugged in there, right?
But-
Assuming,
And one thing I would also caution you too is on column net revenues available for debt service, where it says 6.64 million. That's revenues minus expenditures, then that's what's available. Again, this is an unaudited number from 2022. We're still waiting on the audit to get the fund numbers. That was
No,
approximately right, but again, we don't know what happened in 23.
no, I understand all that. I'm just trying to, it's because you're giving us this, and you're showing a negative coverage ratio, and I just want the council to understand that that's incorrect, in my opinion, because right now, that's not being paid for the utility fund. So we're not at a negative coverage.
No,
If
no.
you insert it in there, it is,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like you are, I mean, you're just showing, look.
What it will take
utility-
to get there.
Correct, based
So-
on current revenues. But if, assuming current revenues stay the same, and the SIB loan continues to be paid as it is, as this council voted on, that coverage ratio is not negative. It's over 1%. I mean, I'll do the calculation, but it's got to be over 1, at least 1.10 at least. Now, of course, we wanted to be as best as it could, but I just want council y'all to know that it's not in a negative coverage. That column, this column C, that is being paid for the general fund. That's how we voted at the time, to be able to
So,
pay for that.
so just if you look at the first line, to get to a 1.2 coverage, based on the 6.6 net available, the debt had to be about 5.48 to hit 121. So that was
The
pre,
que-
that was pre the CIP,
Go
the
ahead.
SIP, right?
You know, the question on the whole thing, whether you take the green column out, the column C or not, too, that goes back to something that was happening and it's prior to you guys with the capital lease program.
Yeah.
We have that same thing, so.
That's column D.
Yeah, let's call them D, but those,
Yeah.
this is just capital lease items that happen to go, which would fit under the utility fund, not the other ones that they've had in here too.
Yeah, there's other ones that go to.
There's a period here where
departments.
Mr. Cardona and Tom should be able to attest to that I sat here with Molina and everybody else here, and I questioned our utility funds about our rate, talked about the cost of goods sold and all that stuff. We're talking about chlorine, about the cost of chlorine. Are we sure we're covering the rate? And you guys were really hesitant and talking about it. But this is where this is at now. This should have been done a long time ago. And, you know, if we take out the green column, we still don't have 300, we might take it out of this, which is where it belongs. We should probably never loaned it, but we needed to get this done.
Right.
We didn't have the money in the other one. So this $382,000 is road pavement that we can't do. This is gutter service, this is drainage that we can't do because we had a loan, and we really loaned ourselves money, which is something, because we weren't charging enough on our utilities to make the project. Now, if when we did our budget, Mayor, to be fair to everybody too, I would have never okayed the budget that we have with the information that we're learning now. The problem I have is I have to do my best for the city. I have to make hard decisions, and yes, we might have said that at the time, but with the information we all had, we all went into it with good hearts, good minds, and that's what we really wanted to do and truly to do. But then we find out, you know what, our numbers are bad. We came up with an audit that came in late. We had a bunch of issues that came back into. I was the only council member on those council members, so there was a lot of stuff that I discussed and all this stuff that I found out later, and I thank God for all you guys coming in, that we're starting to clean up some freaking messes that were done, and this is one of them. And we're gonna take a bath with our public because we're gonna have to raise this rate. Because my fear, Mayor, is I'm going to ask for a public hearing. I want my public to come in here, our community to come in here, tell us that you really don't want the rate study. I mean, nobody wants to, if you have a choice, please increase my two. I don't want mine. Remember, mine's going up too. I'm voting to increase my utility rates. But nobody wants that. But I also don't want everybody to come in here and spend an afternoon or spend 2 hours coming in here telling us what you want and don't want, and we have to do it anyways. I'd rather just do it this way and say, hey, I'm sorry, I really meant my word. I'm not trying to break my word, but there was mitigating circumstances. That was the best thing for the city, was which you put me in here, not the best thing for David White, the best thing for the city of Edinburgh. And I have to feel that at this moment in time, that's the best thing for the city, and it hurts. It's gonna hurt our mid-year appropriations. There's other things we probably wanted to do with some money, some residues or some we have to find. And it's also going to affect next year. But it really looks like the way we're looking at this, it's really going to assist the council after us. It's about 4 years down the road before we start getting really out of some stuff. That's what I foresee.
This is without rate increases right here. This is just status quo.
Okay.
Right.
This is
And,
without
you know,
rate increases. But
another thing
it'll
too-
be 4 years before we get out, but we can.
Yeah, if nothing moves, it's.
And another thing too, like coming into this council, I mean, the first thing I always want to do is not to do anything to raise rates or to raise any taxes. But it's like Councilman White was saying, is these are responsible decisions we have to make and the toughest ones to make. But it's for the betterment of our community in general, and to see projects in the city to continue moving forward. And like everybody's kind of said, the can's been kicked down the road too many years. And I just believe that these are the direction that we have to go to keep moving forward.
And if you notice in column C, I mean, we structured that so that as the D was going away, it was trying to help you find that space. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that y'all have done to try to mitigate impacts to the people, so.
Right, and so, Bobby, just in a nutshell, so prior administration spending and our utility rate has not covered those loans. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, those capital leases were pretty big, because at the end of the day, remember when we first got hired on, I think there was an application in Water Development Board for 60, 50?
60 million.
60. And we came in and we said, whoa, let's draw it back to 25-ish. So, you know, y'all are operating under good diligence, right? But one thing to know is that when you borrow 25, you're doing it over 20, 30 years, and a lot of these capital leases were 40-some, and they were over like 5 years, 7 years. Those are strains that
on the budget
were really good. And I think the phrase was, that's not really dead, so we don't have to do that. But you're obligated to make the payment. So it's if the credit report, my personal credit report says I owe a mortgage, a car, and all this, but if I owe my brother $10,000 a month,
right,
I still gotta.
Correct.
It's still an obligation to make.
And just to echo what Chief White said, the popular thing is ignore it and kick the can down the road, and maybe they get raised after our time is up on this council. But I think everyone here is very responsible, and like Councilman Salazar said, you know, no one wants to raise rates, but it is the right thing to do. It's the responsible thing to do to make sure that the health and the growth of our city is maintained even after we're not here. If in your opinion, Bobby, so you're saying that if we don't do this by March, then if we wait till October, then we have to wait another fiscal year before we can apply for the loans?
We can apply, it's just the results aren't gonna be favorable in the eyes of the underwriters or Florida Development Board or people like that.
And instituting one of the options, it would keep us from using our general fund, and our utility rate will actually pay for
It should
the
start get-
services,
it should-
like it's self-sustaining like it should be.
It should be, yes.
It just affects our debt to equity ratio, really.
Correct.
That's all it really is when you lies of a loan holder. So if I can't use I gotta wait for my audit, that's what you're saying, my 24 audit, and I don't get it till 25.
Yeah.
That's the numbers I'm gonna be used on.
And they
If I
might
don't
say,
raise the
well,
rate
you
until-
institute the rates, So let's
That's
see
what
how it goes.
Right, and-
But if you see this 24 audit in this coming March, at least 6 months worth of it, of revenues or whatever it's gonna turn out to be, at least it'll show them.
I got it.
Correct.
You know, we saw the difference in March through September, how it impacted.
Right. And I've learned that internally, the city does some sort of an internal rate study, but this is the first time in how long? Was it a decade that we've actually hired someone to do an actual rate study? It's been 11 years?
Longer than that.
Yeah, and I would defer to him to describe what
Yes, sir.
Wildan does.
The last rate increase we had was 11 years ago.
And
just off the
I
top
guess
of your
that's just to the point of, I'm kind of like Chief White, if we would have known these numbers at budget, then that would have affected a lot of our reasoning. We even did a tax rate decrease. We didn't, because we had not done a water rate study in over 11 years. Knowing those costs at that time, I think would have been,
Well,
things might have been-
just let me correct y'all, Councilmember Diaz and White. So we did have this information as part of our budget. Because when we approve our budget, there is in your budget book, it has in there our debt service coverage ratios. So we can't approve a budget with revenues that is not covering, not only our expenditures, but our debt. It's a balanced budget. So we did have it, and I think this is projections, just showing, if you don't do anything, based on.
This is where you could be.
This is where you could be, but I just want to be clear, the budget that was approved with no water rate increase was sufficient to cover our debt service coverage and our expenditures for this fiscal year.
but with general fund.
No, well, the utility fund itself. All our funds are balanced.
Well, utility plus general fund.
Right. Well, each fund has to be balanced, right? Remember, utilities has its rate, and you have our property tax for our general fund. But the utility fund's its own revenue.
But was that budget, since I wasn't here,
Right.
just with respect with everybody, was that budget pending also this rate review?
No. What, that I know of.
Because it was ordered at that time, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, I have a question for our finance director. Can Mr. Alonso come to the podium? He's our finance director. Because I just want to be clear, we'll probably have some answers to this. So, Mr. Alonso, like in our budget, do we not include in there all our debt service coverage ratios?
Yes, we
Or
do.
making sure that we're covering our budget expenditures and all that?
Yes, that is our goal, and that's what we budget, and when we present it to council, it's either a balanced budget, or we let you know that we're gonna draw down either on fund balance, to meet some of these coverage ratios, when it's not self-sustaining, we look at the city as a whole, so it can be subsidized, hopefully for a short period, either out of general fund money or solid waste money, or.
Right.
So in the big picture, our goal is to balance as much as we can with the resources we have. We don't like to commit resources that we don't have.
Right.
So, to answer your question, the utility fund did have to pay the debt service. There was one, the SIP loan was paid out of.
The general fund. Yes, sir.
Temporarily, this year was paid out of tax money.
Right.
So, but we look at that every year in total, not at a certain fund. In a perfect world, utility funds should be self-sustaining, should be paying their debt, should be paying their operations. Unfortunately, right now, because of some of the transactions that have occurred, we've had to work with other resources, and it's not self-sustaining at this point because of some decisions that were made.
The capital leases in particular.
Mr. Alonso?
Yeah.
In your time that you were here prior to when we brought you back, how many times did the city have to take capital funds, our general funds, to cover the public utility?
When I was here, we never did that.
Never did.
Never did.
So that's why
I know
what I'm trying to get at is let people know that there's some stuff that happened here that we're starting to figure out, and we're having to eat it now. And that's what everybody here doesn't realize. This shouldn't be here. We should have a utility fund that could take some of the stuff that Fern asks us about. We should be doing roads and streets, and we can't do roads and drainage and stuff like that if we're having to subsidize our utility fund, which should be paying. It's a user-based. If you use it, you pay for it. It's kind of what it is. We're not there to look to make lots of money. We're just using so everybody understands that the utility fund is it all goes back into the utility fund. So if we pick up $100, it's gotta go back into $100 with a pipe, or however it is. Eventually, to stretch it all out, whether it's drainage, sewer, not drainage, right? It's sewer, water, and there's the two, right? The sewer and water. So it's gotta go back in there. So we end up with a reserve in there. That reserve will probably go to some type of emergency stuff, or we shouldn't have a reserve in there, so we should be repairing and fixing and updating and pushing towards the growth of size we annex. So it's not like we're gonna get a bunch of money and do something else with it. It's just to make sure it's a self-sustaining system.
Yes.
And
Yes,
we're
it is.
not we're not there. We lost that somewhere down the road. In the last 10 years, we've lost that.
It is an enterprise fund. At minimum, it should break even.
We break even.
But
At the
it
end.
is an enterprise fund that's self-sustaining, and we have additional funds we reserve for anything that's not operations, that things come up, and hopefully we'll start building that up again. Yes. And as far as studies, we used to do internally when I was here. We did do a study annually during the budget process to determine if we needed to raise, recommend an increase. But I mean, right now we're catching up.
So right now, this fiscal year, in your opinion, Mr. Alonso, we have enough funds to cover this fiscal year
Yes.
at this time with the utility fund, based on the budget
Yes,
for
we have
this year?
budgeted all the debt service payments. One of them is coming out of general fund, but the rest, we do have a balanced budget that we have enough revenues to pay the debt service for this current year.
So aside from obviously, the plans to maybe issue debt in the future, so that I guess we could look good for their, potential rating agencies, we're, at this point, it's enough to cover this year. If there's any rate adjustments starting in October, that could obviously help, right, as we're talking about. 'Cause I
Yeah,
think-
and it's true, the more funds we have, the more flexibility we have, the better we look as a credit to issue additional funds. So it's all a plus to have additional revenues.
Right, yeah, and thank you. Thank you, any other question, Mr. Alonso? Thank you, Mr. Alonso.
Okay.
So, council, the other thing I'll just mention, I guess to reiterate, I know I mentioned this at the last meeting, and so I know, Chief, like you mentioned, prior to what's happened, but if you remember, our taxes went up, our tax rate, right, in 2019? When was that, 2019, when there was an adjustment to the property tax rate because of bond issuance in 2018? We're just now doing those projects, but the taxpayers were already paying those taxes starting in 2019, and so that was also my concern here on the schedule of the increase. I'm not against, making any kind of adjustments to account for not only our debt service has been described, but also for new projects, but it's just the amount and the timing. What the consultant came up is a guide, right, that provided to us to say, all right, we have these two scenarios, but we get to determine whether it should be that amount. I think one's 11%, the other 8%, or we could say, well, let's start with 5%, right? Because I think any increase, and I think a financial consultant could maybe speak to this, obviously it's only gonna help. Because we're covered this year as far as our debt service coverage. It's just moving forward, how we're gonna be set up to be able to do that. And I'm not sure, I have the listing here from City Manager that shows the timing of things, and I know we need a full year, but the big projects to me, out of the 250 million are the new water plant, that's 60 million, and then we have the new wastewater treatment plant, right, another 60 million also. Those are gonna be together, is that correct, I think, in that vicinity,
The same
north of town?
vicinity.
Yeah. And so those are gonna take those are the biggest ticket items, and we need them. We need to get those done. But just again, for the public's sake, the water plant, that's not scheduled to start the planning of it until October 2026. And the wastewater treatment plant, it's not scheduled to start the planning of it until July of 26. Those are the big ticket items that will probably have the most impact to anything that we'll do, because it's gonna add more capacity. I think, aside from the amount that we have, the revenues, it's what capacity we have. And so, we need those done, but the timing of it is, you know, obviously it's 2 years array, and, but we need to make some adjustments, so. Anything else, council? Any other questions? So, council, given the discussion and everything, would we be amenable to have a public hearing still, or who made the motion? Councilman De Leon? Would y'all be amenable to have a public hearing before we raise the rates? This will take effect when? What scenario is this again? Option 2 or option 1?
Both options are March 1st,
Both are March 1st?
2024.
Okay. Because right now, I guess the
Mayor, I'd
motion
like to
is
call the vote.
Sir?
Call the vote.
All right, there's a call for a vote. I got cut off here, so they're asking me to take a vote, so. All right, so all those in favor to approve this item, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? All right, we're gonna move on to item 9, variances. We have one item, item A.
Consider variance request to the City's Unified Development Code, Article 5, Section 5.203-1, right-of-way and paving width, Highest Praise Church, RGV subdivision, being a 0.84 acre tract of land out of Lot 18, Emma Woods Tract Number 4 subdivision, located at 818 East Trenton Road, as requested by Rio Delta Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 10A.
Consider awarding RFQ number 2024-001, project management services to qualified firms, and authorize the city manager or designated appointee to enter into a professional services contract with such firm or firms for a rotation pool as projects arise.
Mayor, I'd like the motion.
Go ahead, sir.
I'd like the motion for the consultants to be rotation, Brownstone Consulting, Supreme Engineering, SAMS, and Heft Associates.
Okay, we have a motion for firms as listed. Just to repeat, sir, Brownstone,
Supreme
Supreme,
Engineering, SAMS.
Sam's Engineering, Half
Half.
Associates. All right, is there a second to that motion? No second? If not, is there another motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to add Brownstone, Supreme, Sames, Half, and RO on rotation, as Chief White stated.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
How would you feel about adding Norris Leal LLC
Why didn't you guys ask me when I made the motion?
I was gonna keep all yours, I was just gonna add.
Well, we have a motion and a second,
If you would
so.
consider just
I
adding.
would
Norris Leal.
not mind adding, amending my motion and adding Norris Leal for the rotation.
Is there a second?
Second, I still have the second.
How would you guys feel about adding B to Z engineering?
All right, would you care to amend your motion?
I would amend my motion and add B2Z.
Second. Mayor?
I've already been voted down, so I'm not gonna try it here, so. Anyway, all right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 11, resolution. Item A, we have considered resolution creating a downtown district steering committee.
So moved. So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Do we get the list and appoint the members, or?
We can bring the appointments to the next meeting. We can reach out to see who would be interested.
Well, we have a list, and we have one in the audience here that I'd like to
Okay.
appoint Mr. Cantu, but if we have to do it the next meeting, that's fine. So we'll bring it back formally, or council, do you want to submit names, I guess, or how many members are on the committee?
As many as you want.
Can we set an amount as part of our motion, or at this time?
Yeah, you can make that part of the motion.
What do you think's good?
We need at least, I would say maybe 7.
8, 7, 8?
Would that be all right? Okay.
there, no, no.
So we can submit names, and
That's my motion,
we can make
yes.
the appointments.
I'll amend my motion.
Okay. All right. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Looking forward to this committee. This is a standing committee, so this is not an ad hoc. This is a committee that's going to stay in place, because there's a lot of things that we want to look at as part of this committee, so, okay. Thank you all. Item 12, consent. Council, is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion,
To approve A through F.
A through F. Is that a second?
Second.
We have second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 13, other business. Council, is there any items you'd like to request from management for future council meetings? All right, I would like to see, I know it was already voted on, but can we figure out how we're gonna let the public know about this water rate increases? You know, I don't know if it's an item, but I'd like to see us just informing the public what we're doing.
We will, sir. Thank you.
All right. All right, item 14, is there a motion to go into executive?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All's in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We're going to go to executive, and it is 8:10. All right. It is 9:36, and we are back from closed session. Can I get a motion to reconvene?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Just wanted the record to reflect that there was no action taken in executive session. I believe we have some action on a couple items that are required.
Yes, Mayor, based on the discussion for item A, I would recommend a motion to enter into an agreement on the terms discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Related to item B, two recommended motions based on the discussion. First motion is authorizing city manager to enter into a property agreement related to project swap on the terms discussed in executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then also for item B, I would recommend a motion ratifying EEDC action related to project swap and authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the EEDC related to project swap on the terms discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And council, just to clarify, this is all part of this same project? We could do two different motions?
Yes, that's correct.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
No other action at this time, Mayor.
All right, no other action required. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. It's 9:38.